It's one of the biggest questions out there. Why are some nations incredibly wealthy while others just seem stuck in a cycle of poverty? For a long time, we chalked it up to things like geography, or resources, or just plain luck. But what if the real answer is something we can actually control? Today, we're going to dissect the anatomy of a failed economy to figure out the blueprint for success. And it all kind of starts with this famous line from Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does a 19th century novel have to do with economics? Well, this Anna Karenina Principle is actually a perfect framework. The idea is that for anything to succeed, a ton of things have to go right. But for failure, failure can happen in countless ways. Just one missing piece can bring the whole thing crashing down. All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with that core principle. Then we'll dig into the real engine of what makes a country prosper. After that, we'll look at some jaw-dropping real-world case studies. And finally, we'll pull it all together to lay out a blueprint for building a strong, successful nation. Okay, first things first. We have to tackle a really common idea about why some countries are poor. And it's an idea that, it turns out, is mostly wrong. It's the theory that a nation's fate is basically written in stone by its environment. You see, for hundreds of years, the prevailing wisdom was that your economic destiny was pretty much out of your hands. Thinkers like Jared Diamond, in his famous book, Guns, Germs, and Steel, made a powerful case that everything from your climate to the kinds of animals wandering around determined your fate. The basic idea? Some places just got lucky. And this slide is the perfect illustration of that everything must go right principle. Diamond used animal domestication as his key example. He said, look, for an animal to be farmable, it had to pass all 6 of these tests. If it failed on just one, like say it was a carnivore, or it refused to breed in a pen, or it was just plain vicious, well, the whole project was a bust. Miss one step and you fail. That's the Anna Karenina Principle in action. But here's the twist. While that's a brilliant example of the principle, applying it to geography as the main reason for economic success, well, it turns out that's a red herring. Modern economics shows us that the things we can't control, like geography, matter way, way less than the things we can. So, if it's not geography, then what is it? What's the real engine of prosperity? According to some of the world's top economists, the answer is actually pretty straightforward. It's all about institutions. Now, when we say institutions, don't just picture big marble buildings. We're talking about the rules of the game. Based on Nobel Prize-winning research, institutions are the systems we humans design. Things like property rights, the rule of law, fair courts, and access to education. These are the very foundation of a modern economy. And you can basically boil it down to 2 different paths a nation can take. On one side, you've got extractive institutions. These are designed to funnel wealth from the masses to a tiny elite. They concentrate power and discourage innovation. On the other side, you have inclusive institutions. These create a level playing field, protect people's property, and encourage everyone to invest and participate. Okay, but that's the theory, right? Let's get into the real-world proof. Let's look at some places where these 2 types of institutions have created dramatically different outcomes, sometimes for people starting in the exact same spot. And we have to start with the tragic story of the Congo. If geography was destiny, this place should be one of the richest on Earth. It is overflowing with resources, diamonds, gold, you name it. But after a coup in 1965, the new leadership built a classic extractive state. They just took what they wanted, property rights were a joke, and they used the nation's incredible wealth to build themselves palaces while millions of their people starved. And the result of that kind of system? Just look at this number. An inflation rate of 4,400%. A civil servant's entire monthly salary couldn't even buy a week's worth of flour. This number isn't just a statistic. It's the devastating human cost of an economy designed to serve only a handful of people at the top. Okay, now for what might be the single most powerful comparison in all of economics. After the Korean War, you had one people, sharing the same history, the same culture, the same geography, suddenly split right down the middle. It's the closest thing to a perfect controlled experiment you could ever ask for. And what happened next was just staggering. The 2 countries went down completely different paths. The North went all in on extreme authoritarianism, crushed private property, and sealed itself off from the world. The South, on the other hand, started to democratize. It opened up to trade, protected property rights, and, this is crucial, it invested massively in educating its entire population.
And that massive divergence leads to this incredible observation. The difference between the two economies is so stark, so total, that you can literally see it from outer space. You've probably seen the satellite photos. A South Korea blazing with light right next to an almost completely dark North Korea.
So, what this teaches us is that strong, inclusive institutions aren't just about growth during the good times. They're also about survival. They're what determines if a country can take a punch or if it just shatters under pressure. A perfect and really tragic example of this is the 1970 Bola cyclone in what was then East Pakistan. The storm itself was a terrible natural disaster, yeah? But the real catastrophe was the institutional failure of the government back in West Pakistan. The response was criminally slow, they actually blocked foreign aid, and the starvation and chaos that followed led directly to a war of independence and the birth of a new country, Bangladesh. The storm didn't create the failure, it just revealed it. And the ultimate man-made stress test? Well, that's modern war. The old idea that you could get rich through conquest is totally dead. Modern warfare is unbelievably expensive, and in today's interconnected global economy, the damage from sanctions and getting cut off from trade far outweighs any land you might grab. I mean, just look at the ongoing conflict in Yemen. The estimated economic loss so far, a mind-boggling $126 billion. It's an economic black hole. It proves that in our world, war isn't just a human tragedy, it's also a guaranteed recipe for economic ruin. Okay, so after looking at all the ways things can go wrong, what have we actually learned? What's the blueprint for getting it right? What are the key ingredients that all successful nations in their own unique ways manage to figure out? Well, the good news is the blueprint for prosperity isn't some big secret. It's about building an inclusive system where everyone gets a fair shot. It means having a strong rule of law that protects everyone's property and builds confidence. It means investing in the education of your entire population, not just a tiny elite. And at the very heart of it all, it means having a government that actually serves its people instead of the other way around. And that really leaves us with one final crucial thought. The evidence seems pretty clear. Wealth and poverty aren't accidents of geography. They aren't destiny. They are the result of choices, human choices. Which kind of begs a question for all of us, doesn't it? If prosperity is a choice, what choices are we making right now?